Dear friends, in the last two sessions we spoke about the Pakistan and United States relationships. Since the birth of the Pakistan in 1947, we discussed in the first session about PAK-US relationships from 1947 to 1958, and later on we spoke about relationships from 1960 to 69 and 71. Then we spoke about relationships from 71 to 77, and then the relationship from 77 till 1988. So from now on we will discuss about PAK-US relationships during the democratic governments in 1988 to 1988 to 1998. So after the restoration of democracy, after the disastrous and mysterious death of Zia and the U.S. ambassador in an aviation crash, relations deteriorated quickly with upcoming prime ministers Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. The United States took tough stand on Pakistan nuclear development, passing the President's Amendment while significantly improving their relations with India. Both Benazir and Nawaz Sharif also asked the United States to take steps to stop the Indian nuclear program, feeling that the United States was not doing enough to address what Pakistan saw as an existential threat. Pakistan found itself in a state of extremely high insecurity as tensions mounted with India and Afghanistan's infighting continued. Pakistan's alliance with the U.S. was strained due to factors such as its support for Taliban and public distancing of the Pakistani government from the U.S. We have to see a rift in the relationships now. Like in 1992, U.S. Ambassador Nicholas Pratt advised Pakistan leader that if Pakistan continues to support terrorists in India or in Indian administered territory, the Secretary of State may find himself required by law to place Pakistan on the state of sponsor of terrorism list. This statement or some statements are not my own statements. I'm getting, I am quoting from, this is a quote from different encyclopedia and internet sources. So it says like when the U.S. decided to respond to 1998 United States embassy bombing in Africa by firing missiles at an Al-Qaeda camp in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, 5 Pakistani agents represented at the camp were killed, and their economic embargo started. In 1989, Benazir Bhutto made a quick visit in the U.S., asking the U.S. to stop financing the Afghan Mujahideen to President George H.W. Bush, which she marked America's Frankenstein. This was followed by Nawaz Sharif, who visited the U.S. in 1990, but the U.S. gave cold shoulder to Pakistan, asking Pakistan to stop developing the nuclear deterrence. In 1990, Pakistan, the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif travels to the U.S. to solve the nuclear crisis after the U.S. had tightened its economic embargo on Pakistan, prompting Sharif and the then Treasury Minister Saddam Aziz to held talks on Washington. It was widely reported in Pakistan that the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Teresita Schiffer had told the Foreign Minister Sajjad Yaqub Khan to halt the uranium enrichment program. In December 1990, France Commissariat Lingui Atomique agreed to provide a commercial 900 megawatt power plant, but plans did not materialize as France wanted Pakistan to provide entire financial funds for the plant. Furthermore, the U.S. Ambassador Robert Oakley further influenced on the project, showing growing concerns of the U.S. on the agreement. While talking to the U.S. media, Nawaz Sharif declared that Pakistan possessed no bomb, no atomic bomb. Pakistan would be happy to sign the nuclear non-proliferation treaty (NPT), but it must be provided first to India to do the same. After the France project was cancelled, Nawaz Sharif successfully held talks with China to build the largest commercial nuclear plant, um, Chestnut in Chashma City in Pakistan. In 1995, Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto made final visit to U.S. Urging President Bill Clinton to amend the Bresler Amendment and emphasized that the United States to launch a campaign against the extremism with Pakistan allying with the United States. Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was succeeded to pass the Brown Amendment, but the embargo on arms remained active. At the United States trip, Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto faced a heated criticism position on nuclear weapons program. Benazir Bhutto responded fiercely and sharply criticized the U.S. non-proliferation policy and demanded that the United States honor its contractual obligations. Although Benazir was able to convince the U.S. business community to invest in Pakistan, but was unable to revert the economic embargo which kept investment away from the country. In 1998, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif ordered to conduct first nuclear test after Benazir Bhutto called for the test in response to Indian nuclear tests. Nawaz Sharif ordering the nuclear test was met with great hostility and in the United States after President Clinton's placing the economic embargo on Pakistan. The relations were also restrained after Nawaz Sharif became involved with Kargil war with India. While India's relations with Israel and US greatly enhanced, soon after the test, Benazir Bhutto publicly announced her belief that her father was sent to gallows at the instance of the superpower for pursuing the nuclear capability, though she did not disclose the name of the power. In 1999, Benazir leaked the information that Nawaz Sharif would be deposed, that there is nothing that Americans want to support Nawaz Sharif for the democracy in Pakistan. After a military coup was financed against Nawaz Sharif, the President Clinton criticized the coup, demanding the restoration of democracy, but did not favor the mass demonstration against the military regime as the coup at the time was popular. In conclusion, both Nawaz Sharif and Benazir refused to make compromises with respect to country's nuclear deterrence, instead building infrastructure despite U.S. objectives. It's important to talk about the Cold War legacies and trade sanctions, CENTO and CETO as well at that time, and the trade embargo during that time. Then Pakistan had some military science programs as well. In 1955, after Prime Minister Hussain Sorward established nuclear power to ease of the electricity crisis, the U.S. offering grant of millions of dollars to acquire a commercial nuclear power plant. So those are some of the incidents. Then it's important to talk about the non-proliferation and the security. Since 1998, the governments of the both countries have started an intensive dialogues on nuclear non-proliferation and security issues. First meeting took place in 1998 between Foreign Secretaries Shamshad Ahmad and Deputy Secretary of State Strobe Talbot to discuss the issues focusing on CTBT signature, ratification, FMCT negotiations, export controls, and a nuclear restraint regime. The October 1999 overthrow of the democratically elected Sharif government triggered an additional layer of sanctions under Section 508 of the Foreign Appropriations Acts, which include a restriction of foreign military financing and economic assistance. The U.S. government assistance to Pakistan was limited mainly to refugee and counter narcotics assistance. At the height of nuclear proliferation case in 2004, President George Bush delivering a policy statement at the National Defense University, President Bush proposed to reform IAEA to combat the nuclear proliferation, and he quoted, "No state under investigation for proliferation violation should be allowed to serve on the IAEA Board of Governors." It's also important to talk about the space program and the U.S.-PAK relationships. In 1990, U.S. and the technology control regime put restrictions on Pakistan's space program, and it clear that the country's forward development of missile program. The U.S. began cooperation with Pakistan in peaceful space technology in the 1960 after establishing the Toniani terminal in 1961, constructing an airfield and launch pad. In 1962, Space Research Commission launched the first solid-fuel rocket Rebel, built with close interactions with U.S. NASA. The launching of the rocket made Pakistan the first South Asian country and the 10th country in the world to carry out the launch of the rocket. During the 62 to 72, approximately 200 rockets were fired from Sumiani, but this cooperation waned after 1972. Now it's important to talk about relationships after 2001 and in 2002 and 2003. After September 11 attacks in 2001 in the United States, Pakistan became a key ally in the war on terror with the United States. In 2001, U.S. President George Bush pressured the government into joining the U.S. war on terror. The General Pervez Musharraf acknowledges the payments received for captured terrorists in his book. We have captured 689, handed over 369 to the United States. We have got it. So this was the statement of Musharraf, but probably people don't really agree with this number. It's from internet source. In 2003, the U.S. officially forgave U.S. $1 million in Pakistan debt in a ceremony in Pakistan in return for Pakistan joining the U.S. war on terror. Today's signing represents a promise kept and another milestone in our expanding partnership. U.S. Ambassador Nancy Powell said in a statement, the forgiveness of $1 billion in bilateral debt is just one piece of multi-billion dollar assistance package. The new relationship between the United States and Pakistan is not just about September 11, Powell said. It is about rebirth of a long-term partnership between our two countries. However, Pakistan's support of U.S. And its war has engaged many Pakistanis that do not support it. We have to see the alliance with the United States as well. Prior to the September 11 attack in 2001, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia were key supporters of the Taliban in Afghanistan as part of their strategic depth objective and with impact in India, Iran scenario, and Russia. So after 9/11, Pakistan, led by General Pervez Musharraf, reversed course as they were under pressure from the United States and joined the war on terror. as a US ally, having failed to convince the Taliban to hand over bin Laden and other members of Al-Qaeda. Pakistan provided the US a number of military airports and bases for its attacks on Afghanistan, along with other logistical support. This is from some of the internet sources. Since 2011, Pakistan has arrested over 500 Al-Qaeda members and handed them over to the United States. Senior U.S. officers have been lavishing their praise of Pakistani efforts in public while expressing their concern that not enough was being done in private. However, General Musharraf was strongly supported by the Bush administration. In return for the support, Pakistan had sanctions lifted and has received about $10 million in U.S. aid since 2001, primarily military. In June 2004, President George Bush designated Pakistan as a major non-NATO ally, making it eligible, among other things, to purchase advanced American military technology. Pakistan has lost thousands of lives since joining the U.S. war on terror in the form of both soldiers and civilians, and was going through a critical period. However, many areas of Pakistan are becoming terror-free. Suicide bombs were commonplace in Pakistan, whereas they were unheard prior 9/11. The Taliban have been resurgent in recent years in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. Hundreds of thousands of refugees have been created internally in Pakistan, and they have been forced to flee their homes as a result of fighting between Pakistan forces and the Taliban in the region, border Afghanistan and further in Sawat. A key campaign argument of U.S. President Barack Obama was that the U.S. had made the mistake of putting all our eggs in one basket in the form of General Musharraf. Musharraf was eventually pulled out of office under the threat of impeachment after years of political protests by the lawyers, civilians, and other political parties in Pakistan. With Obama coming into the office, the U.S. is expected to triple non-military aid to Pakistan to $1.5 billion per year over 10 years, and to tie military aid to progress in the fight against militants. The purpose of the aid is to help strengthen the relatively new democratic government led by President Zardari, and to help strengthen civil institutions and the general economy in Pakistan, and to put in place an aid program that is broader in scope than just supporting Pakistan military. Pakistan has received aid since 9/11 from the United States, and some trust deficit issues were under the discussion in 2008. NSA Director Mike McConnell confronted ISA Director, claiming that the agency was tipping off jihadis so that they could escape in advance of American attacks against them. So this was probably news, or it was a rumor or whatever. So then we had certain border engagements and Afghan war factor in Pakistan, United States relationship. It was very important. Present U.S.-Pakistan relations are a case study on the difficulties of diplomacy and policy making in a multipolar world. Pakistan has important geopolitical significance for both India and China, making unilateral action almost impossible for the U.S. At the same time, Pakistan remains a key player in American efforts in Afghanistan. The two countries are trying to build a strategic partnership, but there remains a significant trust deficit which continues to hinder successful cooperation in combating common threats. It's important here to discuss that nowadays the recent political scenario in Pakistan is very different as we have seen before. the political scenario as of August and September 2014, when Imran Khan and Dr. Tahir Qadri, they are against the present parliament of Pakistan, and they are complaining against rigged elections and against the beneficiary Nawaz Sharif, PMLN. There is an impression from the parties in the parliament that some scriptwriter is behind the, the sit-ins in Islamabad. So let's see what happens. And the Americans, the statement from the American government is for the democracy, but there's a misconcept as stated by some intellectuals that it's not about saving a democracy; it's about saving a government of a pro-American thought, and and the differences between the United States and Pakistan armed forces, those should be reduced, and the Pakistan armed forces and the United States of America, they should come close to each other. They should reduce the gap. They should discuss. They should minimize or overcome the differences due to Raymond Davis or Afterbad event, or um, because of Afia Siddiqui and Raymond Davis and such issues between the intelligence community in Pakistan and the United States government. So we hope the relationships between the Pakistan intelligence community and the armed forces of Pakistan and the United States, the relationship will be better again, and we will see the improvement in the relationships, which will foster the relationships between the democratic parties in Pakistan, the political party, the opposition and the government, and within the United Nations. And it's better that Pakistan armed forces and the United States government should come back and should normalize the relationships before the exit of US troops from Afghanistan. It's in the interest of Pakistan and it's in the interest of the United States. So therefore we keep hope and pray that the armed forces of Pakistan and the government and the CIA and the government of the United States and the political parties, they'll be on the same page, and they will come up with a normal relationship between Pakistan and the United States in future. And we'll keep telling you about the recent developments in the relationships of Pakistan and the United States. And we are very thankful to the viewers for watching this discussion, and hopefully this will benefit you with some knowledge about the PAK-US relationships. And all the Americans and Pakistanis, they should try their best to reduce the gap between Americans and Pakistanis and between the intelligence communities of the both countries to normalize their relationships, which is good for the both countries.